Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Tomorrow AVA just filed a current report, and I am seeing a familiar pattern in their investor communications. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. The company released an investor presentation, which is pretty standard but worth looking at what they are highlighting. This is a current report filed by AVA Corporation, which is a utility company. They are essentially telling the public that they have released some new information. The report is dated May 13, 2026, and it tells us that on this date, Avista Corporation made an investor presentation available to the public. Sometimes these presentations are just fluff, but other times they can contain clues about the company's future plans or performance. It is like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain. What makes this filing interesting is that it is not a deep dive into financials like a quarterly report, but rather an announcement that they are sharing information. Avista Corp, as they are referred to here, is a company that provides energy. Think electricity and natural gas to communities. You can see from the context that they are registered in Washington state and have been around for a while, indicated by their commission file number. Their common stock trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol AVA. This is the main way people invest in the company. This section is really the core of the filing. It states that on May 13, 2026, Avista Corporation made an investor presentation available. This presentation is accessible on their investor relations website. The report is basically an announcement that this presentation exists and is public. This part tells us what documents are attached to this report. In this case, the key exhibit is the investor presentation itself. It is labeled as Exhibit 99.1. They also mention an interactive data file, which is standard for SEC filings. It is important to note here how these filings are treated. The report specifically states that the information furnished under Item 7.01 and Exhibit 99.1 are not considered officially filed. This means they do not carry the same legal weight or liability as other filings under certain sections of the securities laws. It is a subtle but important legal distinction. They are also making it clear that just because their website is mentioned, it does not mean anything on their website is automatically part of this report. Now, while this 8K filing itself is brief and primarily an announcement, the investor presentation it references is where the real story lies. Investor presentations are usually designed to highlight a company's strengths, future outlook, and financial performance in a digestible way for shareholders and potential investors. Since we cannot see the actual presentation content directly in this filing, we have to infer what might have been discussed based on the timing. And recent news, looking at recent news, there have been some interesting developments. For instance, a significant number of shares in Avista Corp were bought by Versa Investments LP on the same day, May 13, 2026. This suggests that institutional investors are still showing interest in the company. Also, a board member made a notable stock purchase around the same time. These actions often signal confidence from insiders and major holders. The mention of a new Spokane microgrid helping keep essential services open during blackouts is also a timely piece of information. This highlights Avista's role in infrastructure and resilience, which is a key talking point for utility companies, especially in this era of increasing climate challenges and grid instability. This speaks to their strategy of investing in modernizing the grid for reliability. The Q1 2026 earnings call presentation from May 8th also gives us a backdrop. It shows that even before this investor presentation, the company was actively communicating its quarterly results. This current report is likely building on the themes and performance discussed in that earnings call. When we think about what Avista Corp might have emphasized in their investor presentation, given the current market environment for utilities, they are probably talking about stability, regulated earnings, and investments in infrastructure. Companies like Avista, often referred to as utilities diversified, typically have a large market capitalization and are seen as more stable investments. However, they also face challenges like increasing costs for infrastructure upgrades, regulatory hurdles, and the ongoing energy transition. The fact that they are releasing an investor presentation right after their Q1 earnings call suggests they might be trying to reinforce their story post. Earnings perhaps addressing specific investor concerns or highlighting strategic initiatives. The market typically rewards utility companies that can demonstrate consistent earnings growth, a stable dividend, and a clear plan for future investments in infrastructure and renewable energy. What is the real takeaway here? This filing is less about new financial numbers and more about communication. Avista is actively engaging with its investors, sharing its vision. and likely reinforcing its financial stability and growth prospects. The external news about insider buying and microgrid projects suggests a company that is actively managing its operations and investor relations. For utility companies like AVA, the core story often revolves around their regulated business model. They are granted monopolies in certain areas and their profits are determined by what regulators allow them to earn. This provides a degree of predictability, but also means they need to constantly justify their investments and rate increased requests to regulatory bodies. The recent news about institutional buying and board member purchases is a positive signal. When people with inside knowledge buy stock, it can indicate they believe the company is undervalued or has a positive outlook. This is a bit like Warren Buffett looking for companies where management has a significant stake. So, while this 8K itself is more of an announcement, it points us to a broader narrative about Avista's strategic communication and operational developments. The key is to look at the investor presentation they have made public and see what story they are telling the market. Alright, that is my take. Stay decoded. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like and subscribe for more insights from corporate filings. And check out the Discord in the description.